let's jump right in. You have a lot of fun stuff in this one. Number one, we've been talking about this a lot, the Microsoft announcement. Number one, the CDR story of the year that wasn't. What more would you like to say about this one?
In this GigaTen, also, we don't really talk much about the intro I make, but this time I took a longer intro. And what I really wanted to do this time was obviously talk about Microsoft, start with that because that's on everyone's minds, but then really focus on the stuff that is happening, that is meaningful, that is progressing, and we'll be covering plenty of that. So on Microsoft, shortly, again, I don't think it's huge news. I don't think it came as a surprise to people in the know. What was surprising was maybe that it's a bit more abrupt, or that the comms around it was handled not the way that people were hoping for. And what I also showed here is that even if you take Microsoft out, we've got 8.5 megatons sold, a market that doubled year on year, and a market that probably people would have been very happy with if you told them 5 years ago this is what it's going to look like, which is, again, something that gets drowned in the news. But all to say that, it's a kick in the butt we needed. It's not hugely unexpected, and I think the market will be stronger for it in the long term.
Yeah, like we said before, I mean, you need to have more than a few big players in a market. So hopefully this will invite other people to do what they did, which it was great. I mean, doing legacy emissions removals, I think those are great targets just as a going forward for any company. I think it's a great idea. And to that point, bad news may not have been so bad. Number two, the unlikeliest DAC win yet. Like we had said, I said
good
so many
news
times,
from the US.
Like, wait and see what happens. There's always talk, and let's look at and see what actually happened. What actually happened, which is, I'm surprised actually.
The two dark air capture hubs worth $600 million each in terms of what they were promised from the DOE, were on ice, were paused for almost a year and a half, 15 months. Mm-hmm. Many had taken them for dead, but in the background, these companies were busy at work and they managed to get through the right people. The DOE released a list of 2,000 projects that are aligned with the priorities of the DOE and which are supposed to get funding. And among the list of these 2,000 were the two DAC hubs, which is tremendous news because on paper that means that the two biggest direct air capture facilities in the world will get built under a Trump administration, or at least starting in the Trump administration. And I think that's very telling. I mean, clearly they managed to create a narrative that was compelling. And so I'd love to get to that narrative and hear what exactly they did. And I'm sure with time we're going to find out because some people did some really good work there. Very thrilled
absolutely.
about that.
And as we were saying too, I mean, jobs are a big deal in some of these spots where these projects were. I was going to be very surprised if the local and state politicians weren't lobbying heavy for these projects. I would have imagined.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Number three, at first but not last, Switzerland has done some removals. Let's hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, I also just came back from Switzerland and there's so much to talk about when it comes to Switzerland. But what they did is they submitted the first durable CDR to the greenhouse registry, to the inventory of the UNFCCC. And this was from a biogas plant with then carbonized and demolished concrete. But why I want to talk about this, because people probably don't really know this, but today, if you're a government and you're doing CDR in your country, you don't really have the frameworks to account it for your nationally determined contribution under Paris. People are not really aware of that. For most nature-based solutions, yes, but if you're doing direct air capture, if you're doing even certain types of even for biochar, it's not 100% clear. If you're doing certain BECCS or mineralization, you can't use it as a government, which is crazy. And that's a big roadblock. There's a lot of countries that actually, especially, for example, Denmark, that's a huge roadblock for their whole biochar initiatives, right? And so Switzerland is as always, as so often, trying to trailblaze the process side. And that is really valuable because then everyone else can piggyback off it. Norway, Sweden, all the other, Denmark, the other ones that are doing this at scale. So it's something that really wasn't reported much, that most people probably didn't even understand when it came out, but it's actually a very important step.
Yeah. Well, as you've mentioned, Switzerland obviously has been on the forefront, especially with climbers coming out of Zurich, and there's just so much of what Switzerland does that's quietly leading, let's just say. Number 4, governments joining the CDR party. Who has joined the CDR party? Looks like Germany.
Well, I just came back from the first Zurich Climate Week, which was very impressive, really, really impressive. And my favorite event was an all-day workshop organized by the Swiss government, in collaboration with the Swedish and the Norwegian government. Something that we're definitely going to talk about next month when we cover May. But what really struck me was that there were easily 15, 20 government representatives from 5 countries in attendance. Mm-hmm. I'd never been to a meeting like that. We were maybe 50, 60 people, and a third were government from many countries. And that was awesome. That was impossible many years ago. And for frank, open conversation with the private sector. I really loved it. That's the one. And then the other one is on the 20th and 21st of May. We're going to have the CSEF days, which are again organized by the European Commission this time. And it's just so promising for me that we have government organized CDR events. Mm-hmm. That's very new. And I think that tells us a lot about the maturity of the sector. And again, all of these stories are happening right now, but I wanted to highlight them, not just because they're important, but because they show that the Microsoft kind of headline, that's a headline. But in the background, governments are busy at work and they are unfazed and they keep, pushing on their front.
Well, that's why also you do your GigaTen, and we highlight these things because, as per usual, headlines are just headlines, and everyone rolls up their sleeves and does the hard work, and we have to keep doing that across the board on all the issues that matter. And look what happened to the DAC hubs in America. I'm sure it had to do with a lot of diligent people working. Number 5, Global South makes the case for removals. Yes. What's new about that?
I mean, no news here. I'm very passionate about Global South CDR.
Yeah.
I am one of the founders of the Global South CDR Coalition, and we led a process over the last 5-6 months to create a common position across many CDR organizations on how to position carbon removals within this 2040 climate target in Europe that we've discussed a lot. There's a 5% contingent for international credits, megatons, potentially gigatons of credits. And we want to make sure that there's removals in there. And we thought that instead of just making our own case, we'd align a very broad range of stakeholders, including on the nature-based side, behind a common position so that we have a better shot. And the consultation is closing imminently on this. And over the next year, I think we'll speak a lot about it. But yeah, if people are interested in kind of a common sense position why Global South CDR makes sense for the EU, you should check out this position paper.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. And I noticed that Octavia and Sella both had huge milestones in Kenya.
Exactly.
So, that's good.
There's a lot to celebrate in the Global South. We'll talk about next month. There's a couple of stories that I think I want to talk about.
Great.
So we'll get to that.
Yeah. And number 6, we have the CDR method that delivered. Yes, biochar yet again.
I mean, I sound like a broken record, but this time it's not. Yes. It's not my opinion on my data. What Alexander Rink and Robert Höglund from CDI4I did, which I thought was fascinating, and again underreported, it kind of drowned. And I was like, this is one of the best analyses I've seen all year. What they did is they actually looked at what do we expect for different CDR technologies 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. What happened in the last 5 years, and what do we expect for the next 5 years? Mm-hmm. And it was really interesting. And they didn't shy away from using arrows that pointed down, up in every direction. and they looked at things, permanence, scale, deliveries, purchases, MRV. And the clear winner is biochar. That biochar, both on the scientific front, they highlighted that the whole permanence debate, which was really roadblocking biochar for many years, seems to have been resolved.
That's been
but then also that really it's just delivering. It's the only method that is really delivering. Marine biomass sinking got a very tough look, but I think that's broadly fair. I would have agreed with it. And then, but it's interesting. It's got all the technology. So if somebody's keen to kind of get, 2 people who've been around the block.
Who came in second and who came in second to last?
I think second was biomass burial,
I
basically
don't
wood
like
harvest and storage.
biomass burial. I don't like
But
that.
they looked at it and they were basically like, nobody had any real expectations for this 5 years ago. And again, it's the method that has the second most deliveries, right? It's been pretty popular for buyers. On the permanent side, things are progressing well in terms of the science. Again, we can debate all day long this method,
Yeah.
but it has over-delivered on expectations. I think that is fair.
Yeah,
And
I
obviously
think
DAC
it's
didn't do so well because you can imagine that 5 years ago,
no.
DAC was kind of at the height of its hype,
Yeah.
and
Super
it didn't
hype.
deliver as planned.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Plus, there's just longer lead times than just burying wood. But anyway,
For sure.
Sorry. All right. Number 7, fighting wildfires with biochar now in 4K. Yeah, I saw your short film Char. Good for you. How's that going?
Well, I'm very curious what you have to say as a professional.
I haven't watched it yet. Full disclosure. But I saw the announcement and I like the teaser or what I saw quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I watch it
will
before next month and I'll ask you again because I definitely want to get your take. No, it's very, very cool because it's part of what we did in Bolivia with Matthew was obviously a much bigger project. This is a short one. It's kind of 6-7 minutes. But it's the same idea to kind of tell the story of carbon removal through a different lens, through a lens of I don't mention carbon removal in the film until 3-4 minutes in. It's about wildfires. It's about the Mediterranean. It's about droughts. It's about what we do about this huge issue that every year really changes the landscape of this continent and many others. And the story of how one company is taking, hazardous biomass from the forest, burnt eucalyptus from the forest, takes it out and essentially makes biochar with it, right? And then applies it to soils. So it's a great story from Portugal, one that I thought had relevance beyond Portugal. And so, we made a nice little documentary about it.
Yeah, both short films are really important. I mean, they get out faster and they have a lot of virality to them. So it's great. Number 8, putting Italy on the CDR map. Chiara, what is she doing?
Chiara D'Adamo is one. She wears 2 hats. One is that she's a co-founder of the Italian CDR Association, the RIRC, that we spoke about last month. And she's one of 4 and has put a lot of sweat and tears into creating an ecosystem in Italy. And if that wasn't hard enough, she's also the founder of Italy's only DAC company. And I can tell you from having founded in Italy, it's hard. And founding a DAC company in Italy must be very hard. So, she's got all my respect. She has a lot of energy. And I really recommend people giving her a follow if you're interested in DAC and or in Italy.
Why is it so hard to do that in Italy?
It's just, I've founded companies in five countries now. In Italy, you have the constant experience of fighting the state. Like you don't feel supported. You're always fighting for every little detail. And you always feel like they're trying to get money from you. Like you make no revenue. You have no revenue. They want 20K. It's really crazy. So, all respect for people. And I have small things like a tourism business, small stuff. But like people who are like actually trying to build these big venture-backed companies, it's not
a good
easy.
spot. Okay.
Sadly, as an Italian, I have to say sadly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Number 9. Oh, yes, another policy scoop debate. Corresponding adjustments in the ring. And yeah, that would sound like a very mundane topic. What's the issue?
That got very spicy.
Really?
This is one of the biggest topics that people are not talking about that will have a huge impact on the market. So corresponding adjustments are basically it's under Paris, a mechanism that allows a country to export a reduction or removal, and then basically takes it off its own accounting, and the other country can take it on its accounting. So it allows this transfer, which is a key element of how we will do Article 6 sales, right, and transactions. Now, this is really future talk when you think about it, because we're not there yet. Under Article 6, but you're seeing people starting to insist, even buyers, that they want corresponding adjustments. But governments don't really know how to issue them. It's creating a lot of issues right now. And so we got on the scoop for this showdown debate, Olga, who's actually on the art. She's been working on Article 6 for a long time. She thinks we have to use corresponding adjustment. She's been a strong advocate. And then we have Johan from Stockholm Exergy, who's actually the best example of why you shouldn't insist on them now. Otherwise, you wouldn't get huge projects like his Beck's projects finance. And they had an intense debate.
Why would it be that way?
I'll give you an example. Because this is actually happening, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it in future scoops. Take Denmark. Okay. Denmark is subsidizing CDR. One condition for these subsidies is that they have to count towards their own NDC. Now you have buyers from the US, for example, who are buying from Denmark, from Danish providers, but insisting on a corresponding adjustment. Now Denmark cannot issue that, because if they issue the corresponding adjustment, it's gone. Then it goes outside of Denmark. And they've just subsidized it. And I know of at least 2 megaton CDR deals that have fallen through because of this.
Oh, wow.
This is becoming a real issue.
Can they share?
Well, I'm on it. In that sense, I thought share to make this news public. And no, you can't split it. You could in theory say, okay, we're going to do a corresponding adjustment for 50% of the credits or whatever. Yes. But that's not going to happen.
No.
No. And so this is starting to become an issue. And frankly, most countries don't even know how to issue these corresponding adjustments because there's a huge infrastructure behind it. It's not so easy. So it sounds like mundane, maybe technical topic, but I recommend people listen to it because it will probably affect you sooner than you think.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, everyone go watch that. I should go watch that. Number 10, decarbonize faster, get CDR sooner. Yeah, that's actually a quote in Legion 44 that you have. Your whole section is based on that.
Wow, I said that then. I forgot that.
You did.
Good.
You did.
So I'm keeping it real.
You are, but now you're kind of changing, you're evolving your position, it looks like.
Well, now I have data. Before it was kind of the moral, the IPCC, but actually what I like to do here, and I have to say the person who's inspired me really on this is Robert Höglund, because he's always taking the position that we should do what's most economically viable. It doesn't matter if that means that we use CDR for the last 10, 30 or 50% of emissions, we should do what's most economically viable. And that always made sense to me, but I never kind of seen it laid out. So what I did is I basically did 2 things. I, on the one hand, showed the slightly declining graph of the average CDR cost until 2050. From 300 to 250, maybe 200. Then on the other hand, you can look at the cost of decarbonization and how much it will cost us to reduce the first 10%, then the next 10, then the next 10, until we get to the final 10%. And that cost curve is exponential. Because after a certain point, reducing the next ton gets exponentially harder. And those 2 curves intersect. And the point where they intersect is the point where CDR becomes more economically efficient. Right? Because suddenly it just doesn't make sense to reduce if you can remove. Now, why did I do all of this? Because I often hear from folks like that if we reduce less, we have to remove more.
Right.
Which makes sense from a carbon accounting perspective. Right. It makes sense. But what people don't talk about is we'll never get to the removal if we don't get to the first 50, 70% of low-hanging fruit reductions. Because that intersection point is the point where CDR starts scaling. But that intersection point is only when we have reduced already 50, 70, 80%. And so I kind of visualize that because for me, it's the killer argument against the moral hazard, because CDR won't exist without reductions. It will never scale without reductions. But B, it really helps visualize when CDR will take off and how we depend on reductions.
Time-wise, in your chart, what do you...
Yeah, so my chart is using kind of the reduction path model based on current NDCs, which is kind of in the late 2030s, around $230 a ton. Honestly, given that we're sucking at reductions, it's probably going to be later. And then it moves kind of into the 2040s.
Everyone hang in there.
Everyone champion reductions, because the quicker we do that, the sooner your CDR startup will do well.
I was just saying, what are we, 2026, 2020? Okay. All right. Sorry.
I'm a policy guy. I'm not scared by these timelines.
No, it's true. Yeah, that's glacial in some sectors. But anyway, at least it might happen. So, well, that was our.
But imagine, okay,
yes.
when one more thing, when 2026.
Okay, that's fine.
So it's kind of, but imagine how awesome that in the next 15, 20 years, we're going to reach a point where it will become a no-brainer to use CDR for every single next ton. Like the amount of CDR that will then take off is insane.
And I have a quick question. This is probably a really simple question, but in any accounting, is utilization seen as a reduction?
Utilization is a broad scope. It's from a coke all the way to kind of concrete and buildings, right? So it's
right.
It really depends. There are some, like what the EU is doing. They're trying to create a category where the utilization is at least 35 years, so that then you can start using it. Right, for accounting, but you need to create clear minimum floors. Otherwise, it could be anything.
Sure. Yeah. Because practically seen, I mean, just from a simple layperson's perspective, that would make sense. I mean, if you're not using new old carbon, just use recycling it, then it makes sense. I guess this is May, and I will go back to looking at the UFO website that just dropped in the United States.
Clearly, I've been working on the wrong things today.
I know, right? This is not top of news today. So I'll drop a link in your text box. Okay.
Thanks, Leila.